Hey everyone, welcome back. So, today we're unpacking a situation that is, well, it's honestly one of the most complex, rapidly evolving, and frankly contradictory geopolitical messes we've seen in a long time. We're looking at this massive paradox unfolding right now in the Middle East. On one hand, you've got these high stakes, incredibly delicate diplomatic negotiations inching toward a peace deal. But on the exact same day, in the exact same region, active, burning military strikes across multiple fronts. It's this bizarre dual track reality. Literally, bombs are dropping at the very same moment hands are supposedly shaking. It's confusing, it's incredibly urgent, and in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what our sources are telling us about this fragile standoff.
To help us make sense of all this breaking news, here's our roadmap for today. We've got 1. Fire under ceasefire. 2. Clashes in the Gulf. 3. Israel's operation in Lebanon. 4. The Doha negotiations. 5. Breaking down the roadblocks. And finally, 6. The strategic zugzwang. Let's just jump right in. All right, starting us off with Section 1, Fire under ceasefire.
Okay, so we have to start with this incredibly bizarre reality. Active, deadly military conflict is literally continuing right in the middle of a so-called ceasefire framework. Just look at this statement from U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM. It perfectly captures the contradiction. They said, U.S. forces conducted self-defense strikes in southern Iran today to protect our troops while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire. I mean, just think about the wording there for a second. They are actively conducting military strikes, specifically targeting Iranian boats and missile sites, while at the same time claiming to exercise restraint under a ceasefire. It just goes to show the absolute razor's edge the region is balancing on right now.
Moving on to Section 2, Clashes in the Gulf.
Let's look at exactly how these kinetic events are actually playing out on the water. Tracing the rapid escalation over just the last 24 hours, regional reports show this sequence starting when Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, reportedly targeted a vessel at sea and tried to lay naval mines in these super strategic waterways. In direct response to that, U.S. warplanes launched strikes against Iranian boats and rocket platforms in towns like Bandar Abbas, Sarik, and Jask. And this whole thing culminated in a reported joint U.S.-Israel operation near Larak Island, which left 4 IRGC soldiers dead. The crucial takeaway here? While diplomats are sitting in rooms talking, there's a lethal game of cat and mouse actively happening in the Gulf. And remember, guys, these are the very waterways that handle a massive chunk of the entire world's oil. A misstep here isn't just a regional issue, it's a direct shock to global trade. You'd literally see it as an immediate spike in gas prices at your local pump. All right, shifting gears a bit to Section 3, Israel's operation in Lebanon.
Because, the Gulf is far from the only active battlefield right now. Shifting our focus slightly westward, our sources detail a massive, entirely separate front that just opened up. Israel has launched this new military campaign called Operation Arrows of Fire. The IDF is actively targeting Hezbollah militants hidden within Lebanon, and the scale is intense. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement claiming that IDF fighters have already killed over 600 militants. There are reports pouring in of relentless airstrikes hitting over 5 Lebanese cities, including Mashgara and Qataria El Siad. And, unfortunately, local Lebanese media sources are reporting that these strikes have resulted in a mix of both militant and civilian casualties. So again, you've got all this massive kinetic action unfolding at the exact same moment the world is discussing peace.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Doha negotiations.
Okay, we're going to intentionally slow things down right here. We've seen the explosive, fast-paced battlefield track. Now we really need to look at the highly structured diplomacy happening over in Qatar, where an overarching peace deal is reportedly 95% complete. And what's super interesting here is the sheer weight of the personnel at the table. Iran didn't just send some lower-level bureaucrats. No, they sent their absolute heavyweights to Doha with a 14-point draft agreement. You've got Bagheri Koni, their lead negotiator, Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, and this is the real tell, Abdel Nasser Hemmati, the governor of Iran's central bank. Honestly, the fact that the central bank governor is sitting there tells you exactly what is driving Iran's motivation in these talks.
And this number right here is why. $120 billion. Our sources indicate that a massive consensus has been reached about releasing an estimated $100 to $120 billion in frozen Iranian assets. To put that into perspective, that's life-changing money for a national economy. These are funds that have been blocked by sanctions dating all the way back to 1979, plus the later nuclear program sanctions. It includes oil revenues, foreign bank deposits, the whole shebang.
This staggering pile of cash is exactly why Iran remains so intensely committed to sitting at that negotiating table, even with active warfare going on back home.
Next up, Section 5, breaking down the roadblocks.
So you might be wondering, if they agree on the money, why isn't the deal signed yet? Well, when we analyze the elusive final 5% of this agreement, we find competing, completely incompatible demands that are totally blocking the final handshake. On one side, the U.S., driven by President Trump, is demanding that Iran completely hand over or destroy its enriched uranium, its nuclear dust, under the strict watch of the Atomic Energy Commission. Oh, and the U.S. also intends to keep its naval blockade in place. On the other side, Iran flat out rejects this. Instead, they want a 60-day window for detailed talks, and they keep insisting their nuclear program is peaceful. But here is the real kicker. Iran is demanding absolute control over transit through the Strait of Hormuz. They want to charge environmental and service fees for vessels passing through, totally free of any blockade. That's a huge sticking point, because whoever controls that strait effectively holds a major lever over the entire global economy. And just when you think these demands couldn't possibly get any more complex, President Trump has reportedly thrown in a surprising new condition. He's suggesting Iran should join the Abraham Accords. Now, as a quick refresher, the Abraham Accords are a series of normalization agreements the U.S. brokered back in 2020 to build better relations between Israel and several Arab nations. Current members include Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and Kazakhstan. Trump is now pushing for Iran to be added to that specific list as a prerequisite for peace, which is, a pretty massive ask. To understand the U.S. side of this incredibly uncompromising stance, we have to look back at some recent history. During a Memorial Day event, President Trump provided some critical context for his refusal to budge on the nuclear issue, pointing to Operation Epic Fury. During that conflict with Iran, 13 U.S. service members lost their lives. That loss is heavily fueling the current U.S. administration's absolute vow that Iran will never, under any circumstances, be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. Which brings us to our final section, number 6, the strategic zugzwang. When we bring the military and diplomatic tracks perfectly together, we see this overarching, seemingly inescapable trap that both sides are caught in right now. As former diplomat and Pentagon official Adam Clemens points out in our sources, both the ongoing U.S. naval blockade and the Iranian mine-laying operations in these international waterways are acts of open hostility. To describe this, analysts are using this brilliant German chess concept called Zugzwang. Basically, it's a situation where a player is absolutely forced to make a move, but literally any move they make will inevitably worsen their position. Right now, every kinetic strike in the Gulf and every hardline diplomatic demand in Doha only seems to weaken the geopolitical stability of the entire region. They have to act, but every single action just pulls them closer to the brink.
So, we have to end this explainer by looking at the clock. With billions of dollars on the line, troops actively exchanging fire, and the fate of critical global trade routes just hanging in the balance, the tension is honestly unbearable. It leaves us with a haunting question to ponder. Can diplomats in Doha manage to bridge that elusive final 5% of the peace deal, or will the kinetic strikes in the Gulf and Lebanon outpace the negotiations, triggering the massive region-wide war that the entire world is terrified of? The pieces are on the board, but time is running out. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this complex issue today. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next explainer.